the hidden woman of King Danjong becomes a slave to her sworn enemy. If you had to live your entire life as a slave in the house of the enemy who murdered your beloved husband, could you truly survive? It is a late winter night in 1457, a harsh winter, inside Zhang Yinji's mansion. A woman is wiping the cold wooden floor with a rag. Her hands are frozen, red, and chapped. Yan Nian, a government slave in the same predicament, carefully approaches Lady Guan, carrying a bowl of hot water. Lady Guan continues to scrub the floor without a flicker of movement. My lady. No, dear. Stop now. You'll ruin your hands. Lady Guan continues to mop mechanically, without answering. Her eyes are unfocused. I brought some boiled water from the kitchen. At least warm your hands with this. The moment Yan Nian sets the bowl down, whispers are heard from outside. A moment later, a servant rushes in, shouting to the others.
Did you hear? From Yangwal.
Lord Nozangan took his own life.
At that instant, Lady Guan's movements abruptly cease. The rag slips from her hand with a thud. As if all sound in the world has vanished, only the two characters, Sayak, poisoned, echo in her ears. Child, snap out of it. You didn't hear it, understand? Lady Guan does not look at Yan Nian. Her gaze is fixed on the empty air. No tears fall. No sound escapes her. It is simply an expression of everything alive shattering within her. This is the staggering moment she hears of her husband's demise, right in the house of Zhang Yinji, the enemy who killed him. Just 3 years after being chosen as the king's woman, her world collapsed. This was not the end of her tragedy, it was merely the prelude to 70 years of suffering that were about to begin. Today, we delve into her life, a life largely forgotten, to follow the desperate record of how one human endured it all. Before we begin the story, please remember to subscribe and like this video. Scene 1, Overture of Fate, the Royal Selection. It is the spring of 1454, in Jiangbokgung Palace, Jiatijan Hall. In the splendid yet solemn main hall, dozens of young ladies, elegantly dressed, sit in neat rows. Queen Zhonghui, presiding over the selection, sits at the head of the room and coldly scrutinizes them. Wherever her gaze lingers, the young ladies hold their breath. As this is the selection for the nation's mother to serve His Majesty, not a single trace of discomposure will be tolerated. Each of you should proceed with the honor of your family and yourselves at stake. The first criterion is physiognomy. The young ladies all raise their heads. Lady Guan tries to hide her trembling heart, staring straight ahead. Lady Kim, sitting next to her, subtly trembles her hands. She seems like a very frightening person. Hush. It will be all right. We are merely following orders. Queen Jianghui's gaze briefly rests on Lady Guan. Lady Guan does not flinch and meets her eyes. A faint smile seems to touch Queen Jianghui's lips before disappearing.
Whose daughter is that young lady?
She is Lady Guan, the daughter of Guanwan, who served as a judge in the Danyingbu Bureau.
Guanwan.
Shortly after, the second round of assessment, an interview, begins, and Queen Zhonghui poses a question herself.
I shall ask Lady Song.
In my humble opinion, it is patience that encompasses everything, inwardly caring for His Majesty's mind and body, outwardly respecting the elders of the royal family, and governing subordinates with benevolence. The currents of the royal court are sometimes calm, but at other times, they are like fierce storms.
Queen Zhonghui nods with a satisfied expression, then her gaze turns to Lady Guan.
Lady Guan, what are your thoughts?
After a moment of thought, Lady Guan cautiously opens her mouth. Forgive my presumption, but I believe it is wisdom. Patience is the strength to endure, but wisdom, I have learned, is a lamp that illuminates the path forward. When His Majesty is young and perhaps his judgment clouded, it would also be the role of a wife to quietly illuminate the correct path beside him. Silence instantly falls upon the assembly. It was a bold answer, hard to believe coming from such a young lady. Queen Jianghui's eyes gleam even more sharply.
How audacious!
On this day, Lady Guan gave an answer that might well determine her fate. Her wisdom was deeply etched into Queen Jianghui's mind, but at the same time, it became a seed that would threaten her in the future. For a king's woman was not meant to be too intelligent. And at this time, no one knew that the woman assessing the benevolent queen candidates before them would soon become the center of a bloody storm that would destroy everything. Scene 2, The Decision and a New Beginning. It is 1454, just after the third selection process, in Lady Guan's family quarters. A heavy silence hangs in the room, and Lady Guan waits, head bowed, for her father's words. In the final selection, Lady Song was chosen as the queen, and Lady Guan and Lady Kim were ordered to enter the palace as royal concubines. Lady Guan's mother speaks. My dear. She is to be a sukue, isn't she? A royal concubine of the second rank. It is an honor for our family. Her father, Guanwan, raises a hand to stop his wife.
Quiet.
Her mother asks. No, my dear. What are you saying? Guanwan looks at Lady Guan and speaks.
My daughter. Listen carefully to your father's words. You are now a person of this nation before you are my daughter. You are His Majesty's woman.
Lady Guan replies. Yes, father. Guanwan continues.
The queen consort has been chosen. You must serve her like a shadow for the rest of your life. You must never attempt to surpass her. The moment you harbor feelings of envy or jealousy, both you and our family will be in peril.
Lady Guan replies. Guanwan's voice softens slightly.
And His Majesty is still young. Before you are a woman to him, become a good companion. How lonely he must be amidst the maelstrom of politics. Bringing comfort to his heart is the greatest loyalty you can show. You must never speak of anything that happens in the palace to outsiders, especially.
Her mother speaks. Guanwan replies.
How can we deny the frightening reality? Since the Jiayuzhongnan a year ago, the court has been treading on thin ice. And our daughter is entering the very heart of it. My daughter, I ask you once more. Are you not afraid?
Lady Guan raises her head, looks at her father, and speaks with resolute eyes. I am afraid, father. But if it is an inescapable fate, I will accept it and follow my path. As you have taught me, I will become a royal concubine who does not bring shame to our family name and who is utterly loyal to His Majesty. Please. Guanwan sees his daughter's resolute gaze, lets out a long sigh, then gently grasps her shoulder.
Yes. You are my daughter, yet so courageous. Please.
Thus, at the age of 15, Lady Guan entered the palace as royal concubine Sukue Guan. She deeply engraved her father's words in her heart, vowing to be a good companion to the king, to avoid entanglement in politics, and to quietly maintain her position. However, regardless of her intentions, the great cogs of history were already pulling her into the center of tragedy. Scene 3, A Brief Peace, An Encounter with the Young King. It is the summer of 1454, in the rear garden of Jiangbokgung Palace. In the garden pavilion, for young royals, the king, queen, and royal consorts are awkwardly seated, enjoying refreshments. The court ladies and maids stand at a respectful distance. Danjong clears his throat and speaks. Queen Zhongsun replies. Yes, Your Majesty. As they are seasonal fruits, they are even sweeter and more fragrant. An awkward silence falls. Danjong clearly looks exhausted from state affairs. Though they are boys and girls of similar age, not a king and his subjects, an invisible wall stands between them. Royal consort Sukui Kim speaks in a small voice. Everyone's gaze briefly turns skyward before awkwardly returning. Then, royal consort Guan quietly opens her mouth. Danjong shows interest and asks.
A game? It has been too long since I played a game.
Royal consort Sukyui Guan explains.
It is called story chain. One person starts the first sentence of a story, and the next person continues it by creating a new sentence. It can be a silly story, or even a scary one.
Queen Jongsun smiles and says, "That sounds fun." Danjong's eyes sparkle as he responds.
No, Queen. Good. Very good. I shall go first.
At Danjong's words, smiles blossom on everyone's faces. Queen Jongsun, next in line, pauses in thought before continuing the story. The tiger. Everyone giggles, and the awkwardness melts away like snow. Royal consorts Guan and Kim also take turns adding their whimsical contributions, and the pavilion fills with the laughter of boys and girls for the first time in a long while. Danjong smiles brightly and looks at Royal consort Guan.
Thanks to you, Sukyui, I have truly laughed for the first time in a long while. Thank you. Truly.
Royal consort Sukyui Guan bows her head and says. A very brief moment before the storm of politics raged. Even they experienced such peace. As she had vowed, royal consort Sukyui Guan became a small comfort to the young king's weary heart. She must have wished for this simple happiness to last forever. Yet, even at this very moment, beyond the palace walls, a colossal conspiracy was brewing, one that would swallow everything. Scene 4, The Calm Before the Storm, Confrontation with Su Yang. It is early spring of 1455, at a banquet hall in Gyeonghoru. Though it is a feast for the royal family and appears amicable on the surface, a palpable tension hangs in the air. Prince Suyang laughs heartily, exchanging drinks with his officials, but in reality, he seems to be the true host of the banquet, not King Danjong. Prince Suyang raises his wine cup high and exclaims,
Your Majesty, I shall offer you a drink.
Danjong replies with a forced smile.
I understand your intentions, uncle.
Prince Suyang, feigning intoxication, staggers towards where the royal concubines are seated. Everyone tenses up. Prince Suyang says,
Ha ha ha, our king truly is blessed to have such beautiful ladies by his side.
Prince Suyang passes by royal concubine Kim and stops before royal concubine Guan, speaking with gleaming eyes.
Are you the daughter of Guan, one of Danyingbu? I heard you gave a most wise answer during the selection process. Wisdom is a lamp that illuminates the path. Ha ha, indeed, a true statement.
Royal concubine Guan calmly bows her head. Prince Suyang leans in, whispering softly enough for only Guan to hear.
However, a lamp that shines too brightly sometimes doesn't illuminate the path, but rather blinds those who walk it.
A cold sweat trickles down Guan's spine. Prince Suyang's words were an undeniable warning, a chilling pressure telling her not to overstep. Royal concubine Guan replies,
This humble servant merely serves His Majesty.
Prince Suyang laughs loudly again and says,
Ha ha, exactly. Yes, that is precisely how it should be. Our royal concubine is truly wise. Here, take this cup.
Prince Suyang extends his own cup to her. It is an impossible situation to refuse. From afar, her father, Guan Wan, is seen turning pale. Guan, with trembling hands, takes the cup and drains it in one gulp. Prince Suyang smiles with satisfaction.
It is good to see.
As Prince Suyang departs, Guan gasps for the breath she had been holding. Just moments ago, she had felt as though she stared into the eyes of a colossal serpent. This was merely the beginning. Prince Suyang had already completed all his preparations. Preparations to eliminate everything that stood in the way of his ambition. The chilling terror that royal concubine Guan felt soon became a horrific reality, engulfing the young king's throne. Scene 5, The Stolen Royal Seal. June 1455, in Sejongjeon Hall. 2 years had passed since the Jiujiangnan coup, a bloody purge. Now, Grand Prince Suyang brazenly coveted the throne, and his loyal followers pressed King Danjong daily to abdicate. Han Myung-ho prostrates himself in the Sejongjeon courtyard and cries out,
Your Majesty, Heaven's will and the hearts of the people all turn towards Grand Prince Suyang.
Numerous officials fill the courtyard, urging abdication as if wailing in sorrow. Danjong sits on the throne, but his appearance is pathetic, like a criminal, not a king. Grand Prince Suyang, though kneeling, speaks in an imposing voice.
Your Majesty, though this humble servant wishes to decline, how can I refuse when the will of your subjects is so fervent? This is not a fault of your virtue, but rather that your spring years are too young to bear the weight of the dragon throne.
Danjong speaks.
Uncle. How? How can this be?
Grand Prince Suyang replies coldly.
The treacherous officials who manipulated state affairs by taking advantage of your Majesty were all executed 2 years ago. If your Majesty insists on resisting, another bloody storm might erupt, indiscriminately sweeping away both good and bad.
Danjong speaks.
I refuse.
Danjong, with tears welling in his eyes, looks around. No one is on his side. Then, his gaze falls upon Queen Jongsun and 2 concubines watching the scene from afar. Lady Guan's heart felt as though it was tearing apart as she watched her husband weep. Grand Prince Suyang rises, approaches Danjong, and speaks in a threatening voice.
Your Majesty, I asked you one last time.
Ultimately, Danjong sobs and picks up the royal seal. His hands tremble too much to properly hand it over, so Zhang Yinji, standing nearby, seizes Danjong's hand, forcibly takes the seal, and presents it to Grand Prince Suyang. In that moment, Danjong's era came to an end. Lady Guan, a royal concubine, could only watch helplessly as all her husband's power was stripped away. Danjong was now relegated to the position of a retired king, a mere figurehead, and Sijou became the new master of the palace. Her peaceful daily life shattered into pieces. But this was merely the first step towards an even greater tragedy. Now, that blade was precisely aimed at her family. Scene 6, Father's Last Gaze. It is June 1456, just after the discovery of the movement to restore King Danjong, in front of the Wagumbu prison. Lady Guan secretly visited the prison with only one court lady. This was because she had heard a few days prior that her father, Guanwan, had been dragged away on suspicion of participating in the restoration movement. Lady Sugui Guan pleads with the jailer.
Please. Please, let me see my father just once.
The jailer speaks as if annoyed.
Your Highness, this is no place for you. Visiting a traitor is not permitted.
Lady Sugui Guan places a hairpin she had prepared into the jailer's hand.
Take this, please. It will only be for a moment. I know what kind of man my father is. He would never conspire against the throne.
The jailer hesitates for a moment, then takes the hairpin and nods.
Just a moment.
Guided by the jailer, they enter the deeper parts of the prison. The dark, damp cells are filled with the stench of blood and the sounds of groans. Finally, they stop before a cell, and inside, Guanwan lay collapsed, so covered in blood that his form was barely recognizable. Lady Sugui Guan cries out.
Ah!
Lady Guan clutches the bars, weeping bitterly. Hearing her, Guanwan painfully lifts his head. He recognizes his daughter and tries to offer a faint smile, but his expression twists due to his lips, torn from torture. Guanwan speaks in a hoarse voice.
How?
Lady Sugui Guan asks.
Father, what in heaven's name has happened?
Guanwan answers with difficulty.
Do not speak that way. Your father.
Lady Sugui Guan asks. Guanwan cuts his daughter off, speaking with difficulty.
Listen carefully. Now. Forget your father. This father is a traitor. You know nothing. You have no connection to me.
Lady Sugui Guan cries out.
I refuse.
Guanwan's gaze intensifies.
You must survive. No matter what. You must survive. That is your last filial duty to your father. The former king is alone. You.
Just then, the jailer rushes over.
Your Highness, the patrol is coming.
Lady Guan is dragged away, her steps reluctant to move. She turns back to her father one last time. Through the bars, Guanwan sends his daughter a final gaze filled with sorrow, a plea, and resignation. That was the last time she saw her father. A few days later, Guanwan died after enduring the most cruel punishment, Nungji Kiakam, dismemberment. His body was torn to pieces and sent across the nation, and his family was annihilated. Lady Sugue Guan was no longer the king's concubine, but the daughter of a grand traitor. And the fate awaiting her was far more horrific than death itself. 7th scene, from royal consort to slave. June 1456, immediately after the execution of Guanwan, in Queen Jiangsun's chambers, Jiatijin. Lady Guan, upon hearing the news of her father's brutal death, fainted and only just regained consciousness, with Queen Jiangsun keeping vigil by her side. Queen Jiangsun clasps Lady Guan's hand and asks, "Consort." Consort Guan speaks with vacant eyes.
Your Majesty. This is all a dream, isn't it?
Queen Jiangsun speaks, holding back tears. I am sorry. I am powerless. Just then, a eunuch, a trusted servant of King Sijou, bursts in, holding a royal decree. As Queen Jiangsun and Lady Guan offer their respects, the eunuch glares at Lady Guan with contempt and reads the royal decree.
Lady Guan, daughter of the traitor Guanwan, is no longer fit to hold a position within the royal family. Therefore, her status is hereby demoted to that of a slave.
As the contents of the decree conclude, Lady Guan doubts her own ears. A slave? And to be sent to the house of Zhang Yinji, the very enemy who drove her husband and father to their deaths? Consort Guan trembles uncontrollably and speaks.
That cannot be.
The eunuch sneers and says,
Do you seek the former king now? A mere traitor's daughter. Quickly, remove the clothes you wear in the palace.
Following the eunuch's words, palace maids approach and try to forcibly strip Lady Guan of her magnificent Dang Yui. Queen Jiangsun steps forward, blocking them, and scolds loudly. Stop. You scoundrel. No matter the royal command, what utter disrespect is this towards one who, until yesterday, was a respected member of the royal family? The eunuch shouts.
Your Majesty, the Queen Dowager. This is the king's royal command.
In the end, the palace maids push Queen Jiangsun aside and rush at Lady Guan. Lady Guan has no strength left to resist. Her Dang Yui, hairpins, and ornaments are roughly stripped off one by one, replaced by tattered cotton clothes. It was the moment one of the most esteemed women in the palace plummeted, in an instant, to the lowest status of a slave. Consort Guan whispers softly.
I would rather.
The eunuch says.
Death is too easy a punishment.
A traitor's daughter deserves to live her entire life as a slave, paying for her sins. Soldiers grab her by both arms and drag her out like a dog. Lady Guan casts a last look back at Queen Jiangsun. Queen Jiangsun was weeping bitterly over her own powerlessness, unable to do anything. The vibrant dancing of the palace walls receded further and further from her sight. To the house of her husband's enemy. Her father's enemy. The man who had utterly destroyed her life, to his house, she was thus dragged. This was the most cruel and humiliating punishment King Sijou had inflicted upon her. A life not truly lived, a life in hell, had just begun. 8th scene, the enemy's house, first night. It's the first night at Zhang Yinji's house, in a shabby servant's quarters. Arriving late at night, Lady Guan was immediately dragged to the courtyard where the servants gathered. Zhang Yinji's wife appears, accompanied by servants holding torches. Zhang Yinji's wife roughly grabs Lady Guan's chin and speaks.
Are you the traitor's daughter? I heard you were called royal concubine Sukui just a few days ago, wherein you? Ha 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 ha.
Lady Guan just bites her lip and glares, saying nothing. Zhang Yinji's wife shouts.
How dare you stare at me with such defiant eyes?
With a sharp crack, the wife's palm fiercely strikes Lady Guan's cheek, and Lady Guan collapses to the ground. Zhang Yinji's wife continues speaking.
Your father is a great traitor who tried to harm our lord and his majesty the king. You too are the seed of a traitor, inheriting that blood. In this house, there is no past where you were the king's woman. You are merely a nameless servant girl.
Lady Guan does not answer. In her eyes, flames seem to burn instead of tears. Zhang Yinji's wife commands.
Throw that wretch into the dirtiest, most foul-smelling corner of the servants' quarters at once. Starting tomorrow, she will clean the stables first.
The servants pick Lady Guan up and drag her to the servants' quarters. She is thrown, as if discarded, into a cold room corner, shared by several servants and covered only with straw. In the dead of night, after everyone is asleep, Lady Guan curls up and silently weeps. Just then, Annihilation, the servant who appeared in the prologue, cautiously approaches and pats her on the shoulder. Annihilation speaks in a small voice. You must be very shocked, aren't you? Lady Guan looks at her cautiously. Annihilation says. I was originally a government slave who worked in the palace, but I committed a sin and was banished here. You must want to die. No, you probably want to kill them all right now. But you must endure. Lady Guan opens her mouth for the first time, her voice choked. Why? Why won't they leave me alone? Just. Annihilation sighs and speaks. To them, you are like a trophy. They want to confirm their power by trampling the king's woman underfoot. So you must never break down in front of them. If you want to cry, cry silently like this in the dead of night when everyone is asleep. And when day breaks, you must become a stone with no emotions. Annihilation covers her with her old clothing and quietly returns to her spot. Feeling a small warmth for the first time, Lady Guan unleashed her pent-up sorrow and sobbed throughout the night. No one was on her side. But the small act of compassion from a nameless servant she met at the bottom of hell became a tiny spark that kept her from giving up on herself in despair. She decided to survive. Like her father's last wish, and for the husband she might one day meet again. 9th scene, Years of Endurance. It's the summer of 1457, at the laundry area of Zhang Yinji's manor. Ms. Quan is doing a mountain of laundry, her hands immersed in the cold stream water. For the past year, she has taken on all sorts of arduous tasks. Her once delicate hands have become coarse and scarred. A young slave girl harasses Ms. Quan. Hey, you former madam. With hands so slow, do you think you'll finish today? The young slave girl shoves Ms. Quan's laundry into the muddy water with her foot. Tisk tisk, do it again. Yanyan approaches, pushing the young slave girl away and speaking. Stop it. The young slave girl retorts. No sin, you say? Isn't her father a traitor who tried to overthrow the country? Ms. Quan silently retrieves the clothes dirted by the muddy water and continues to wash them without a word, as if nothing had happened. Her lack of reaction makes the young slave girl grumble in annoyance and walk away. Yanyan asks worriedly. Are you all right? Ms. Quan speaks without looking at Yanyan. Yanyan says. You are resilient. Ms. Quan stops washing and stares blankly at the stream. If I am not tough, I can't survive. I've decided not to think. Not about yesterday, nor about tomorrow. I've decided to only think about the laundry I have to do today, and the stables I have to clean today. If I don't. At that moment, a servant rushes in, shouting.
Everyone, listen.
Instantly, the washing bat in Ms. Quan's hand falls into the water. Even her last hope, her husband Danjong, whom she had tried so hard to ignore, had now departed to a place beyond reach. Her expressionless face began to crumble for the first time. The news of her husband's exile shattered the dam of emotions she had built up. Every night, she had looked towards the eastern sky where Yangwo lay, praying for her husband's well-being, harboring a faint hope that they might someday reunite. However, history did not even grant her that small hope. A few months later, the news she received was of her husband's tragic death. 10th scene, time stands still. December 1457, the day after hearing of King Danjong's death, in the storage shed behind Zhang Yinji's mansion. Upon receiving news of her husband's death, Lady Guan had stopped eating for days, sitting like a doll in a corner of the shed. Yanyan holds out a bowl of porridge and says, "Please eat something. You'll die too at this rate." Lady Guan speaks with unfocused eyes. "Sister, why should I live? Now. There is no reason left for me to live. My father, His Majesty." Just then, the warehouse door opens and Zhang Yinji enters. He looks down at Lady Guan as if she were an insect.
Are you still alive?
Lady Guan does not react. Zhang Yinji, seemingly annoyed by her demeanor, pokes her shoulder with his foot.
Are you on a hunger strike because your husband died? How despicable. That man was a sinner who deserved to die.
Lady Guan slowly raises her head and looks at Zhang Yinji. There was no longer any sorrow or anger in her eyes. Only an unfathomable emptiness filled them. Lady Guan speaks in a dry voice. "Kill me?" Zhang Yinji asks. Lady Guan says, "Please. Just let me rest in peace now, Your Excellency." At her words, Zhang Yinji feels a momentary chill. Her gaze, not of hatred or resentment, but as if transcending all things. He realizes he can no longer derive any pleasure from trampling this woman. Zhang Yinji says,
"Humph. You want to die? Preposterous. You will live as a slave in this house for the rest of your life, atoning for the sins of your husband and father. I will not allow you the comfort of death. You there! Force that woman to eat some porridge."
Zhang Yinji leaves the shed with an uneasy feeling. Yanyan approaches and helps Lady Guan up. Lady Guan offers a small smile. It was a very sad smile. Now. Nothing matters. To live is fine, to die is fine. Except. After that day, Lady Guan rose again. But she had become a different person from before. She no longer grieved or raged. Like a person without a soul, she simply carried out whatever she was told to do. Enduring all the tragedies that surrounded her with her entire being, she quietly preserved her life in a world that had forgotten her. Thus, decades passed. Scene 11, The River of Oblivion. Years passed. Zhang Yinji grew old and died, and his sons and grandsons became the masters of the house. Lady Guan, too, went through her 20s, 30s, and 40s, gradually becoming a white-haired old woman. No one remembered her as Sugui Mama anymore, she was simply known as Old Lady Guan. One day in the 1490s, at the Jiangdokti, earthenware jar stand, of Zhang Yinji's descendant's house, Lady Guan was silently wiping the jars. A new, young slave, curious, spoke to her.
"Grandma, how long have you worked in this house?"
Lady Guan replied with a smile. "That's right. For a very long." The young slave asked. As the question ended, an older slave nearby scolded the young one.
"You brat! There's nothing you want to say."
Lady Guan waved her hand and spoke. It's all right. It's all right. My dear, even I can't quite remember what I originally was anymore. As if truly unable to recall, Lady Guan gazed at the sky with distant eyes. The brief happiness in the palace, her father's last moments, her husband's laughter. Everything felt like someone else's story. Time is the cruelest river of oblivion. Lady Guan simply survived, having let all her past drift away in that river. Sijou, who oppressed her, and Zhang Yinji, who kept her as a slave, had both died and faded into history. The world had changed many times, and kings had changed many times. Now, no one remembered the woman who had once been a royal concubine to King Danjong. Not even herself. Then one day, something miraculous happened. Scene 12, Liberation, and back to the world. It is the 14th year of King Yongjong, 1519, in an administrative office in Jinshan, Chengcheng Province. Decades had passed, and Lady Guan was freed from slavery. As a free woman, she wandered around Chengcheng Province, near her hometown, barely making a living, when the provincial governor of Chengcheng heard rumors that King Danjong's two concubines were still alive and eventually found them after much searching. The provincial governor bows deeply and says,
Your Highness, I am late. I had no idea you were living so tragically.
Lady Guan, now in her 80s, and another concubine, Lady Kim, sit facing each other in shabby attire. Lady Guan says, Please raise your head, my lord. We are no longer people to be addressed by such titles. Lady Kim simply wipes away tears beside her. We. The provincial governor says,
That is not so. You two are like the only remaining blood relatives of King Danjong.
Lady Guan quietly looks at the provincial governor and asks, My lord. One thing. The provincial governor replies,
Yes, Your Highness.
Lady Guan asks, Our king. The one who was called Prince Nozin. How do people remember him now? Still. The provincial governor becomes solemn.
No, Your Highness. As time has passed, many things are being set right. Many scholars and common people mourn the unjust death of King Danjong and honor his loyal subjects. Someday.
The moment she heard those words, a single tear rolled down Lady Guan's empty eyes for the first time in a very long while. A name she had never forgotten for over 60 years. At the single remark that the world had not forgotten him, her long, arduous years of suffering finally seemed to find solace. Lady Guan says, Thank you, my lord. Truly. It was 65 years after royal concubine Guan had entered the palace. Her name finally reappeared in the royal annals, in a single line from the Chengcheng provincial governor's report, stating, Lady Guan has survived. She had endured all the tragedies that surrounded her with her entire being, silently preserving her life in a world that had forgotten her. Epilogue, the story she left us. After that, no records remain of when or how royal concubine Guan passed away. She likely lived out her remaining years quietly, receiving a small allowance of grain thanks to King Danjong's consideration. Her life was devoid of brilliant achievements or dramatic twists. Yet, her very life stands as a testament to the tragedy of history, the ephemerality of power, and the suffering of countless nameless individuals who were sacrificed within it. She neither dreamed of revenge nor withered away in resentment of the world. She simply accepted her tragic fate and lived her given life to the very end. Perhaps that was her only form of resistance, and her final act of loyalty to her husband, King Danjong, who had departed the world before her. Today, we have looked back at the life of royal concubine Guan, a woman hidden behind a page of history. Her story poses questions to us. When faced with unbearable trials, what do we live for? When we believe all is lost, where does the strength to continue living come from? Royal concubine Guan left no answers. She merely lived on in silence. Remembering her forgotten life, I believe this is the deepest solace we, living today, can offer to her and to all the nameless victims of history who faded away.